Okay, we are live, PNL live. And wait a second, Zach Dominguez. First of all, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
I'm super excited.
So, first of all, before we even get started, your boy Skinny just informed me via text message that we have sponsors for the show now.
God love him.
Skinny's like, hey, like he's calling me. I'm like, dude, I'm about to go live. He's like, I know. That's why I wanted to tell you that you have sponsors now. I'm like, oh crap.
Yep.
Well, Jocko Fuel, thank you very much. And Rudis, thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. It is greatly appreciated. There will be more formal reads moving forward. But as of right now, I can simply say thank you so much to Jocko Fuel and to Rudis Apparel for sponsoring the podcast. It's really appreciated. So
absolutely, yeah, they're fantastic. They work really, really good with PNL.
Dude, they're awesome. Okay,
yeah,
let's talk NCAA wrestling because like you got me super stoked before I even pressed live. And it's probably not the nicest thing to say. But you got your Penn State shirt on.
Oh, I got my Penn State colors, but you know me, man. I'm a Nike guy, so when you said it, I was like, ooh, I guarantee Grant Turner watches this, so I'm not going to try to mess with him because they sponsor the club, so that's why.
But here's the thing: I call that a Penn State shirt because when they went over to Nike, that was the first one that they got.
That was the first one they made. Yep, and I got a bunch of them, and not to drop names at all, but Kale and I used to wrestle a ton against each other when we were little. We were the same age growing up, so I have an utmost respect for Kale, and I love what he does, and just enjoyed competing against him. And then when we ever see each other, we always have good conversations just about wrestling in general.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat for sure. But let's talk about what could possibly be an absolute bloodbath tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Big Ten Network, and that is Penn State and Iowa. And look, you can make the argument that Iowa will win at 25-41.
Yep.
But those are very losable matches.
They are, especially the way those guys have been performing. I mean, holy buckets. The 12-year-old is just showing out at Penn State right now. God love him. He is just killing them.
He absolutely is the babyface assassin.
He is. And I'm not trying to make fun of him. He just looks so young.
He does. He's a babyface.
Yeah.
And then he's wrestling guys like D'Agostino who look like Bob Ross reincarnated.
Absolutely. Yes. Agreed. What do you do with that, right? You're like, yep, that's the truth.
All right. So here's the thing. Let's talk about let's run through the lineup super duper quickly. 25. I think that Ayala has to make an adjustment this week if he wants to beat Braden Davis.
Agreed. His normal style of just grind it in and beat you down is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but those guys are pretty slippery and slick out there on with Penn State, and they'll find a way to cut through that offense, right? They'll slice and dice and get that leg.
That said, though, Zach, I don't think Braden Davis is quite as funky or scrambly as D'Agostino, who gave him absolute fits last week. So I'm going to give the Hawkeyes the benefit of the doubt on this one. I'm thinking Ayala kind of pulls this one out.
I would agree. I think that I think in the end Ayala will do a good job and figure out, hey, I'm going to be a little bit more sturdy in my counter offense. Make sure when I'm finishing clean and not give that guy any opportunities.
33, Cullen Shriver. And who's going for Penn State at 33?
That's a good question.
Let's see what we have here. Penn State, Iowa. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Sorry for the delay here, folks.
All right.
Cullen Shriver and Nagao, but Nagao's been busted up.
He has been.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't think of him. Yeah, Shriver will probably win that.
If
it's not Nagao.
Yeah.
If it's not Nagao.
Right. If it's not Nagao. Right. Yeah.
And that brings us to 41, Bartlett versus Woods. Woods took a brutal loss last week when he got put on his back against Sergio Lemley. Do you know anything about the Sergio Lemley kid?
Nothing. I went back and watched the match, and I was like, "Who's this guy? And where did he learn how to wrestle?" Because I would love to know. Because it was awesome. It was
he can
fantastic.
Wrestle. He
yes,
can wrestle from positions. I was super impressed. Like, it makes me, because I was kind of stoked, and we're gonna get to this in just a second, but I was kind of stoked that Ohio State beat Michigan. Not because I'm a huge Ohio State fan, not because I hate Michigan. I don't really care. But like, if we're looking at the post NIL, post transfer portal world that we live in, it looks a little bit like Ohio State's doing it the way it's, I don't want to say should be, but they're developing their own athletes, the athletes that they recruited. Whereas Michigan went in and bought like a bunch of guys from different places, from Stanford, from Northwestern. And, so I don't know. It felt good to say, okay, the guys at Ohio State look like they're doing it the right way. And you can debate on the right way. I mean, look, W's are W's, right? Hey, I think you're muted, by the way. Did you mute yourself, you silly goose? Dude,
that's better. Sorry.
That's right. So yeah, they're kind of, but it makes me think like, holy crap, that was such a close duel, came down to heavyweight. Maybe it's different if Sergio Lemley's, he makes, what was it? Was it a weight issue? I don't think it was a weight issue. It was a skin issue, I believe.
It's a skin issue. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe it's a different match if Lemley is in the lineup. Like that's bananas to me. That kid could wrestle with the best kids, because Jesse Mendez is one of the best in the country.
Absolutely. Agreed.
So it's fun to think about. Okay, 49, Rathjen and Kasich.
Kasich.
Sure, Kasich probably.
Yeah.
Right, 57, Levi Haynes against Franek. Franek doesn't do a whole lot. Holds position real well, but I think Levi Haynes probably wins that one. 65, I love the kid Caliendo. I really do.
He's great, right? He's wrestler, and to alluding to the next duel here that we'll talk about, but he did a good job wrestling my guy Trelly at Nebraska, and I really thought he is just a stud. But man, it's hard to get to that next level when it's going to be the one or two guy you're competing against.
That's right, because Messenbrink is a son of a gun.
Yeah,
he is a son of a gun. And you want to talk about the epitome of that Penn State go score a gazillion points style? That's Messenbrink. 74. Who knows who we'll see? Will it be Patrick Kennedy? Will it be Gabe Arnold? Will it be Gabe Arnold at 84? I don't know. But do you think anybody's beating Sriracha?
No.
Okay. 84, Truax. Now, here's where it kind of gets interesting for me. I would love to see them put Gabe Arnold in the mix and make him, to make a splash. If nothing else, make a splash, allow him to announce his presence really at 184 pounds. Because I don't know that he can beat Truax. But he can.
Right. Yeah, right. But that's exactly right.
Right. So it should be fun to watch whether they throw him out there or not. 97, nobody's beaten Aaron Brooks with a bat. And then I would kind of like to see the kid. Is it Keeter?
Keeter. It's Keeter. Yep.
Okay, good. So I would love to see Keeter against Kirkfleet. I think he's too small though.
He is.
Greg is an absolute monster. He is filled in at heavy.
Yep. He looks great too.
It's
just like, man, what do you do with a guy like that? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're trying to get him a pro football contract right now.
I know it. So look, here's okay. And this is, I don't think that there was any real hot takes in what we just said. But here's my question to you. And maybe this is a balmy take. Maybe it's not quite as hot. Maybe it's a balmy take.
Okay.
Does this show people that you can't buy wrestling teams, and does it bring to at least not an end, but does it slow down the transfer portal, the ridiculous NIL contracts? Does it slow it down at all?
Gosh, I hope it does. I hope it does. Right. I mean, I'll speak from a coach's point of view. Every coach wants to recruit his own kid and help develop or bring that young wrestler along, whether that's an athlete you recruited or you just got a really good technician that you got to turn into an athlete, possibly, whatever it is. These guys at the Penn State or Ohio, they want a coach. Mm-hmm. They don't want to sit back and just kind of go, well, we can go buy our team and do nothing, or we can start developing our own, which is, I think where our best coaches.
Well, Penn State's guilty of it too. Nagao is a Minnesota transfer, sure. And so is Truex. He's a four-time. He's four-time All-American. I mean, it's not like. Not wrong. We can't say that Penn State doesn't include themselves in this situation,
right?
But who doesn't is Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
And who doesn't is Ohio State. Like they are. Right. I don't want to say the word adamant because I'm sure things.
That's drawing the line, right? Drawing a line.
Right. But I have had conversations with people in Columbus, and they're going, yeah, it felt good to win against Michigan because it's Michigan. Yes, it felt good to win against Michigan because of the rivalry. Yes, but it also felt good to win against Michigan because of the way we've gone about things.
Agreed.
It validates. It validates what we've been doing, right?
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And you see that a lot of times with like, I'll just make a quick little sidestep here. But in the PNL, that's what we're after, right? We want to train our own kids. We want our own guys. We want to bring our own boys up, send them to college, put our stamp on them. Hopefully, we're doing a good job as coaches. We send them up. Same thing with the college coaches, right? We want to build our own team. We want to stand behind it. We want it to be us, not bought. And I agree with that. I do.
And no one is completely innocent in this, I'm Correct. Sure, right? Like Oklahoma State has the kid from Northern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I mean the list. I'd like to at some point, if we have time today, talk about Arizona State at Cal Poly. Cal Poly gets poached for Bernie Truex. But don't forget they had an Evan Wick and a Dom Demas in their lineup too. So nobody's completely innocent, right? Yep. So it's kind of like, all right, I get it. But I hope that what this does, and look, I think that it's not going to come to a screeching halt anytime soon. Mm-hmm. But I hope that this shows people that, like, look, there's probably more value in bringing an athlete through your developmental process than there is in just poaching other athletes. Now, that said, okay, and I don't love to feed into the fire that is the transfer portal, but I'm going to give props to Willie Saylor because he wrote an absolutely incredible article titled on his Rockfin channel, and I'll put the link to the article in the description of this show, 2024 portal possibilities. Now, in the beginning of the article, he goes on to say something to the effect of, look, I hate the transfer portal. I think it's bad for wrestling. However, it is a thing and it must be talked about, right? We can't just ignore it, right? Mm-hmm. And so he goes through the people that he thinks are likely to and or inevitably going to go into the transfer portal. And then he goes on to say that some are just speculation on his part. So, but either way, it's a really, really solid article for anybody that has a Rockfin account that can go check that out. But that's really good stuff. Anything else?
Fantastic article.
It's a great article.
Yeah, it is.
Anything else on Penn State and Iowa?
I don't know. How many times do you think Brands is going to yell at Kale?
What's the under over on that? I wonder if we can start getting prop bets here in wrestling. That would be fun. What would be the best prop bets?
Oh yeah,
hit me up on Instagram. Let me know the best prop bets.
Because this duel is sometimes lopsided, which we believe it could be this time. But
is it crazy to think that they could even shut them out? It's not crazy.
It's not crazy. It's a possibility.
Sure.
But when they get like this, though, the coaches get crazy too sometimes, right? So wild, and then you kind of want to watch the whole circus, if you know what I mean.
I do. I remember.
Yep.
One of my favorite Brands moments over and I believe it was Terry, over the last X amount of years, last 3 years, I believe, was DeSanto was wrestling RBY, and I think RBY grabbed his shoe, and Terry took his shoe off.
I remember this.
Twisting his shoe, showing the referee.
Like, this is what he was doing. He was,
hey, bud.
You know, you're like,
put your shoes on, Terry. Put your shoes on.
You're the college coach. Come on, man. Get in your chair. Well, did you see that? So speaking of that, did you see that? It's FIFA for soccer, whatever the governing body is up top, just introduced a new card. So yellow and red. Now they have a blue card.
Okay, what is blue card?
Any crazy antics is a 10-minute you go sit in a corner card.
Oh, that
right. So if you're flailing around, he got me. Oh, now we can do that to coaches, right? You go sit in the corner card. Here's 10 minutes. Here's your blue card. Go sit in the corner.
Look, so if a red card is an absolute ejection, and a yellow card is a warning, the blue card is a knock it off, jerk.
Knock it off. You got 10 minutes. Go think about what you've done.
I like it.
I like it.
I'm not against it, man. I
love it. So soccer, they said this is the first time in 50 years they've introduced a new penalty or card of some sort, that the things like that haven't changed very often, which I don't know too much about soccer. I just saw it this morning and I was like, this is awesome. I want the blue card.
Okay. We do have Michigan and at Nebraska this week. You said you wanted to circle one matchup there.
Yeah.
And I would like to circle one as well. And who did you want to talk about there?
Antrell Taylor versus it's Miles Amin, right? Yeah, Cam.
Cam Amin, but hopefully, right? Hopefully,
ideally. And the reason why is Antrell's on a good swing, man. He's won 3 good matches in a row. I really think he's found his groove, and for selfishly, he's from the Omaha area. He's from my club, and I'd just love to see him get in there and get a good opponent that's a high-ranked opponent and get himself a good win, right up there. I think he wrestled number 15. He actually wrestled an old teammate out of Northwestern, Max Mayfield, when Nebraska dueled Northwestern, beat him in overtime, and then rambled off 2 more matches in a row here the last 2 duels they've had. So he's on a winning streak. I like this. And then, it's a good win. And then you go in feeling pretty good. This would be a great time to get that big win, especially going into Big Tens and things of that nature.
So that's what are we at here? So, Will Luan, Peyton, Rob, brought to you by Ambient. Nothing on that? I thought it was funny. Fine.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. Not all of them land. They don't.
Not all zingers. Not all zingers. My fault.
So, wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Because here's the thing. You're talking about Antrell Taylor. Describe the way he wrestles. You would know better than me, but describe the way he wrestles.
He is. He's nitroglycerin, ready to just be tossed in anywhere. So he's such a predator that he does. I think sometimes he forgets that he is, and he'll explode through pretty much any scenario when he wants to score. He'll go get it. He had a good run. Of course, eventually lost to the world champ there, Shapiro, but then was the guy that wrestled him both times in Vegas and at trials. Antrell is he's a different breed of animal. When he goes, man, it's we had a snow squall in Nebraska apparently a month ago.
What's a snow squall?
It's a tornado with snow. It blows so hard it comes. You don't even realize it's coming. You just get.
We don't get those in Southern California.
You are correct, sir.
And by the way, Nebraska can keep them. Okay, you can keep your squall.
Sure. Well, I'll try to move them on to you guys. See if I can get them out to you. Lend them out there.
No,
But
we're good.
snow squall is one of those deals that you just don't know they're coming, and sometimes
Mhm.
that's what Antrell is. He'll come, and then he's in a position, and then you think he's going left, and then bang, he's right, and you're
Okay.
like, where did that come from, right? And that's his secret,
I
right?
I kind of sometimes when I'm making analogies to the kids, I'll like equate people to cars. He's more of a sports car. Like he is
For
0
sure.
to 100,
Mm-hmm.
and he's getting there quick.
Yep.
Okay. That said, if I'm Michigan, I'm not putting a meat on the mat. I'm putting Bo Mantanona on the mat.
I don't blame him.
So here's the thing to me. I think Mantanona is just squirrely enough to play Matador to some of that straight on power that
absolutely
Antrell can produce. So that's a real interesting matchup though. I love like there's a couple real good, like, you know, it's funny, man. I sat there with and I'm gonna name drop now for a second here. Stephen freaking Neal, you know, is in our room every day. He's pretty good at wrestling and he knows the sport really, really, really well. Like, there are folks that won world titles in 1999 that don't keep up with the sport at all. But the entire coaching staff is going over his house tonight to watch the duels. Like, he is as close to this sport as you can get. But he and I were talking about, like, dang, Nebraska's they're just good. And they're good every year. And they don't have too many superstars. I'm going to bring up one of them here in a second. I think Ridge Lovett is an absolute superstar. Like, I love the kid Ridge Lovett. But they don't, like, Peyton Robb. I don't want to use the word journeyman in that he's gone from place to place to place, but workman-like, certainly blue collar.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, that kind of is indicative of Snyder and the rest of the coaching staff and the way that they've gone about things over the last 10 years or so. It's really impressive because they ain't pretty. They just win wrestling matches, you know, and they don't. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, I would be willing to bet that they have a lot of multiple time All-Americans. I bet you they rank higher and not necessarily national champions.
That's right.
But multiple time All-Americans.
100%
time at their college.
Because you think about it. Yeah. That you think about it and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's good. Oh wait, that guy's really good. Oh wait, that guy's good. They have a lot of bubble to fourth place guys. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Ridge Lovett against Austin Gomez, because I got the feeling that both of them are going to go tonight.
I would feel that way too. Yeah.
Shit, you paid for Gomez, you might as well wrestle him.
Agreed, right?
Who said that? Don't laugh at that.
Don't tell anybody.
So Ridge Lovett has 2 losses to Gomez. One of them was a fall in 20 seconds when you know, Gomez digs in for 2 underhooks, and there's just not a whole lot of things stopping. He's just going. Like, I love it. So the other one was it was also an upper body situation. But let me ask you this. If you are Manning, Snyder, the Husker coaching staff, do you tell a Ridge Lovett, who is probably as willing to go upper body and wrestle in those positions as just about anybody else in the country? Or do you tell him to not be himself and just kind of back out of those situations? Because look, man, I don't know that he's as good as Austin Gomez in those positions.
Well, okay, you're asking the wrong guy. This is probably not the answer you want to hear, but so I took Ridge in 2016 or 2017 to Greece on the Olympic or World team in Greco. I was there he was there with Schultz. This whole team was fantastic. There was Schultz was on that team. Ridge was on that team. The 33 from Illinois, Bird. Bird was on that
Lucas
team.
Bird.
Lucas Bird. We had really good folk stylers on this team. And Ridge is just as good as Austin in that upper body position. I just think sometimes when you get to college, you think, well, should I use those things? So you second guess yourself. If he didn't second guess himself at all, I think he throws Austin a beating in that position. And that's not nothing against
Interesting.
Austin. And that's not
No,
nothing against Austin,
no, no, no,
because
no, no.
Austin's an amazing human being there. He does a great job. But I've watched Ridge. I've seen him grow up. I've known him since 2017 when he was beating the Turk and the Russian and the Georgian in that bracket that he had to walk. I mean, it was so stinking hard. The path he had to take, he ended up losing to the Russian, but then the Georgian, and then the Russian beat the Georgian, so he didn't make a medal, but he beat an Iranian and a Turk, then lost to the Georgian. And it was an 11-12 match when he lost.
Jeez.
It wasn't like a beating.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the
yeah.
Georgian was so worn out, he gets beat by the Russian. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, we're good for that. We're good for
Yeah, we're
beating
really
them.
good for
We're
that.
we're really good at giving close matches in the quarters and then taking the life.
And like I said, it's not that they've taken anything from Ridge. They've done a great job. Nebraska has with Ridge, and they've given him. He's amazing, right? But I think sometimes you get, like I said, you get to that college realm, and you're like, well, it's folk style. I should be shooting for leg, looking for my cradles, things of that nature. You forget how awesome you are sometimes in things that you grew up with. And Ridge can turn over a headlock.
Man, that's a really interesting point, because right now I'm dealing with a little bit of it in my son.
Yep.
Like for instance, he has like do you remember Buvasar, when he used to get underhooked? He would like swim out of it and like,
and he'd be way over and he'd be
like,
look like he's so far out of position. Okay, I got you. Yeah, no,
right.
Yep.
So he likes doing that in freestyle, because if he gets the leg, he can drop him on his butt and for 4.
For sure.
And if he just gets one leg, if he gets like the near leg, he'll just run him out of bounds.
Yep. Just run right through him.
And he goes, well, I don't know if I can do that in full stall. I'm like, the hell you can't.
Why not? Yeah, why not?
I'm like, you better learn, like, just make it, wrestle it in the middle of the mat. Like, just wrestle it right in the middle of the mat. And you saw him go from, oh yeah, I guess I can. Oh yeah. Look at that. And like, I think what happens is, and I don't think coaches specifically say, don't do that.
No, I don't think they say that at all.
I don't think that's the case. I think just kids in their brains just go, this is more of just a freestyle move, or this is a Greco move. I can't really.
For sure.
Bullshit. Let them rip.
Let them rip, man,
dude.
And Ridge has got one of the best rips out there, man. He if you let him fly, man, he's peacocking the shit out of everything.
I love it. He's
great.
He might be one of my favorite wrestlers to watch in the NCAA this year. He and Messenbrink, they are just so much fun to watch.
Oh, they're fantastic to watch.
Okay, what do you think about that duel though? Just like, if we're gonna here's what I think. I think Michigan came off a big win last week against Iowa, and they had a lot of big wins. I'm seeing Nebraska winning this duel, because I don't think Michigan's sending out everyone. Right.
Personally, right? If I'm playing the odds, watching the line, that's what I believe.
Jacob Van D versus Ragusin, that could go ugly.
Yeah. Dylan Ragusin was on that team as well.
On that Greco team?
Yeah, Ragusin, Bird, Lovett, Schultz.
You know what one I'm really excited about? I want to see how Sergio Lemley responds against an awesome Brock Hardy. Brock Hardy's tougher than hell.
Yep. Yes, he is.
Tougher. Hey, another PNL kid, by the way.
Another PNL kid. Yep.
He's a Sanderson kid.
Mm-hmm.
Will Lewan, Peyton Robb, Snoozeroo. I love them to death. They're both great kids, but
yeah. Well, I mean, Peyton's a Pinnacle kid. Lewan's an Izzy kid. So still PNL guys.
Yeah, I mean, something tells me that it's going to be Nebraska, but it's going to be real close. It ain't going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I agree.
I think what happens is maybe the Huskers send out Hutmacher.
Nash, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But long story short, I think the Huskers get it done, but it's going to be way close. Way close. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at it on a couple different places, and I'm switching up the lineups a bunch. If I switch up the lineup at heavyweight and at 65, it has different outcomes each time. So it's pretty interesting. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's a loaded question because I have my own answer for this.
Okay.
And I'm going to preface the question by saying this. What makes a competitive college wrestling conference? What makes it, and when I say competitive, I guess what I'm trying to say is what makes, like, do we like? It's hard. I'm leading you right now, so it's not fair. I'll make my point then. We know who's going to win the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Big 12 is between two teams, right?
Correct.
It's Oklahoma State and Mizzou. If anybody beats Cornell in the EIWA, I would be absolutely shocked, right?
Agreed.
Like, I don't see that when they're at full strength. I think the Pac-12 might be the most competitive at the top.
Mm-hmm.
At the top, and the ACC is probably either Virginia Tech or NC State, right?
Yep.
So it's like there's two teams that can win those conferences.
Yep.
I think the Pac-12 is the most competitive at the top
Mm-hmm.
conference across the country. Okay, so check this out. I went to last year's results. Oregon State won, but they won by 10 points. Stanford took second at 113. Oregon State won at 123.5 points. Stanford took second place with 113.5 points. Cal Poly took third place with 112 points. So that's a 1.5 behind. And then a 1.5 behind them was Arizona State. Okay. And by the way, people forget Little Rock is good this year.
Yeah.
They knocked off. They knocked off Arizona State. They have wins this year. They have the first, like these kids, these are good wrestling teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 different teams that could win the Pac-12. Win it. Not just dude, that's fun to watch, but we're probably going to get rid of the freaking conference.
I know, right? They're all disappearing, going somewhere else. So I'm going to make a weird analogy to your point, and I agree with you on what you're saying. Like I feel like I'm going down the same path with you, but this is going to be a Greco thing. In the World Championships of Greco, the world champs change every year. The same team might win. Russia might win a lot, right? Yeah. Iran shows up, right? But the world champions and the medals change every year, and that's what
is that healthy.
I think it's healthy because everybody thinks they got a shot. When you're behind a perennial powerhouse, and every year I'm not saying that anybody's a loser. I'm not trying to say that, but every year you lose the same group over.
Yeah, you're kind of the bridesmaid. Sure.
It wears on you, and then you got to find a group of kids that you can bring in together that want to go against the grain, and that's hard to do as well. And it just
I hear you.
Yep.
Maybe because don't forget there is footage somewhere out there of Cale Sanderson saying dynasties are bad for wrestling.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I know it is. It's going to get upended, right? Because
he was wearing different colors at the time.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But
yep.
But he has been on record saying this is bad for wrestling. Oh, well, it's you.
Yeah, you're right. I told you, and then you're the guy winning it. It's a deal, right? Yeah. But I don't know. Competitive to me means there has to be a different winner every so often. Not every time, but every so often, right? So everybody feels like there's a shot still. When you just kind of go out there and you're like, man, they got this guy and this guy. Well, we got this guy, but man, I don't got anybody else. That's what's tough, right? To me, that's what's hard.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, we're talking semantics here because it doesn't matter so much, and there's not, one of the things that's interesting, and I guess this is going to go back to NIL because a lot of it does these days. Mm-hmm. We are in the wild, wild west. Of this NIL stuff, and either it is going to bring down college athletics completely, which There's a chance
Who
of that.
knows?
There's a chance of that.
There's a big chance.
Or it'll be regulated sooner rather than later. And here's the regulation. The regulation has, I mean, there's no other sports that don't have a salary cap.
No.
There's just like there's no like there's or luxury tax of some sort.
Sure.
So there's no way. There's just no way. And this is hard for me to say because some of my best friends in the world are at schools that fall under this category.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no way to compete with Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State in the money department because there's just no way.
Yeah.
Unless you're raising the type of money that they are,
mm-hmm.
It's really, really hard.
I think the only way to do it, I'll be honest with you, the only way to do it, if you want to compete with any of those schools, it's a 20-year plan. And so just
20 years
for my real life and into the financial world, legacy planning is so important. And if you could get everybody to leave $500,000 to that program once they pass away, that's the only way, because it's not taxed and it's going to be your money and it's designated to where you want to go. That's how you beat them up. Yeah. That's the only way you're going to get ahead of it. It's silly, but I mean, you got a legacy plan 20 years from now. Who's the coach? Who's the guy? What are we going to be at? What's our dollar value? How are we going to beat them in 20 years, right? Or you just go in and take a baseball bat. It's hard.
No, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's the amount of money that's out there is just crazy. It's crazy.
And like I think that a lot of those numbers that we're hearing are going to level out because of this COVID year is going to be gone soon, right? Yeah. So like you look at like Cardenas. Cardenas has to transfer if he wants to use that last year of eligibility.
Absolutely. Yep. Has to.
Okay. Those IVs, they don't allow you as a grad student to compete.
Correct.
So he's gonna get a nice bag, dude. I mean, he's going like, and because he has a year of eligibility, because he's a hired gun, because he's a badass.
Yeah.
He's going to drive the price up for any kid that's entering the portal as well.
Correct.
Those 6 years are going to be gone soon.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that they're going to stabilize the market a little bit, but that doesn't take, and you know that they will, right? You're a financial guy. You understand that they will stabilize the market.
It has to, right? It has to, right?
It has to.
The market will stabilize itself.
Sure. Now, that said, though, that doesn't take away from the fact that Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State has more money coming in from donors and from alumni, and they're going to use it. So yeah, you're right. 20-year plan it sounds like a little crazy, but it's probably it's probably even more than that if we're going to be honest.
It is
probably a 30-year plan.
I'm still planning on being alive at 65 at this point, so
that's
I'm
right.
just saying, that's where you got to start at.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought experiment. But okay. Speaking of which, ASU at Cal Poly tonight. You and I'm just talking about the West Coast stuff. You and I'll be on the call for UNI versus CBU.
Nice.
It shouldn't be all that competitive, but it is
a duel nonetheless.
Closer. Yeah. But ASU Cal Poly is really kind of interesting to me. Cal Poly beat Arizona State for the first time in forever last year.
Yep.
And that's cool to see. Again, we're talking about the Pac-12, which is a super competitive conference.
Absolutely. Yep.
The one thing I guess I'm excited about for that mostly is Kyle Parko against Chance Lamer. So that's
going to be awesome.
That's a great match. Great match. The Lamer tribe has really put, kind of stuck their flag.
Is it 4 boys or 5 boys?
Yeah. Well, there's 5, but there's 4 that wrestle. 4 of which are all wearing green, one shape way or another. The oldest is Brawley is a this grad assistant now, but they're all wearing green right now. And so again, like I'm close with these cats.
Mm-hmm.
I like the guys in Arizona as well, but like it's cool to see John Cerritos come in and take the reins of a program 10 years ago and go, okay, here's how we're going to do it. Because they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. They were pretty bad.
No, that's a fair statement. That's
okay.
A fair statement.
They were, I don't think anyone's going to argue, but they were pretty bad. Funding has come along. They got their first 7-figure donation. That's a big deal, dude.
It's a very big deal.
That's a big deal, dude. Like their facility is good. They're putting butts in this. What do they say in Shoresy? They're bums in seats. They're putting bums in seats. Yep. They're like, so they're doing everything right. They're putting guys on the medal stand consistently. They got guys in the top 10. If they, if my aunt had, she'd be my uncle, but like if they had Bernie Truax, they got six. They got 6 guys in the top 10 for sure. I mean, they're knocking down. That's a real contender now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun to watch this team. They're they got every different type of athlete on it. It's going to be good. So that said, though, ASU brings their full squad. They're tough to beat, right? When they're healthy and when they're when they're motivated, right? And it seems like they are motivated. They took some ugly L's in the last couple weeks. Ugly L's, right?
Yep.
Getting beat by Little Rock that's a tough look, right? I don't care if your starters are out. I don't care.
Yep.
They're like a 5-year program, dude. You can't lose to a 5th-year program.
You can't. Yeah, I agree.
So it's like, we have an interesting duel, and you just wonder if Cal Poly is ready to say, okay, this is going to be our conference. Like this is our conference. Zeke, I know you kind of planted your flag here a few years ago, but this is going to be our conference. It should be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know if did you I know we were just together last week here, but did you make it to the Oregon State Arizona State duel?
I did. Yeah, I was there.
That was way more competitive than I was expecting. I had a blast watching it, right?
Yeah.
Heavyweight, super good. I think Arizona State has a ton of like potential. I just want to see him get there, right? And Lee Pritz is a good friend of mine. We serve on the same council. And I talk to him all the time. I'm like, hey man, get that fire going. I want to see those boys do great. I think they're coming, right? I think they're trying to time it up right.
I hope so, because like when you got guys like Richie Figueroa, who was a blue chip recruit coming out of high school, like this kid, had every expectation in the world. And it's tricky. You put him behind Brandon Courtney for 3 years. That sucks, right? Like it's like nobody grew. We were kind of hoping he would grow. That's something. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, when ASU is properly motivated, they are real tough to beat.
Really tough. Yep. Agreed.
But Colton Schultz against Tinker is fun for me because you got 2 giants out there. Tinker's 6'4". Yeah. No, he might be bigger now. I think he's 6'6", actually, now that I'm saying that. I think he's 6'6". He's a monster.
Yeah, that's really big.
That's big, as it turns out. And then, you got Colton Schultz, who has a fire hydrant on top of his shoulders. He's a monster too. So it should be a really good duel. I think they actually, as predicted by WrestleStat, I think it's like a tie bout going down to what's it called? Criteria. So long story short, we got some amazing duels this weekend. East Coast stuff, Penn State, Iowa, middle of the country stuff, Michigan and Nebraska, and then the West Coast stuff, ASU, Cal Poly. It's
a good weekend for wrestling. I agree.
It's a real good weekend for wrestling going into these conference tournaments, brother. Anything else before we get moving?
No, it's a good time, man. Thanks for calling the JV squad up.
Come on, you ain't the JV squad. You're the best, brother. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, brother. I'll talk to you all soon.
Talk soon.